Greetings from Guanajuato. I'm Martha Lengeling, and I will be presenting with Irasema, Mora, Pablo from the University of Guanajuato. And the title of our presentation is Critical Incidences in the Lives of ELT Practitioners from Reaction to Reflection.
This presentation discusses how 9 student teachers in a BA in English language teaching in Central Mexico reflected on critical incidents that occurred while they were teaching for the class Analysis of Teaching Practices. The main objective of this study was not only to help student teachers identify those events that have had an impact on their teaching practice, but also to know how to interpret those critical incidents to understand their current teaching practices. They engaged in formal reflection so they could analyze the incident and reflect on what they learned from the situation. This is the outline of a presentation. First, we will give the introduction, then the literature review, then the context and methodology, then the results and discussion. Finally, we will present the conclusion. A critical incident is any unplanned or unanticipated event that occurs during class, outside class, or during a teacher's career, but it is vividly remembered. Tripp mentions that the vast majority of critical incidents are not all dramatic or obvious. They are mostly straightforward accounts of very commonplace events that occur in routine professional practice, which are critical in the rather different sense that they are indicative of underlying trends, motives, and structures. In the context of this small study, all participants are already in-service teachers and they have experienced different situations at their workplace. However, the manner in which they see an incident is the way that it will show their critical incident. When an incident that surprises the researcher or teacher occurs, it becomes a stimulus for reflection, and this reflection leads to the decision about the incident's criticality. This is a long process, and although perhaps it is not clear at the moment, it will become much more concrete when the individuals engage in reflection of the situation. Formal reflection on critical incidents consists of a description, production, phase, followed by an explanation phase. Teacher stories can help to offer strategies for dealing with problems other teachers might face. For this study, we relied on Macabe's framework for analyzing the narratives where the critical incidents emerge. The following are parts of this framework: orientation, complication, evaluation, and result. We added one more step, which we call further action, to incorporate not only an analysis of the critical incident, but also a concrete action derived from the analysis. We engaged in detailed conversations with these teachers during the class sessions so they could analyze and verbalize their feelings, concerns, and emotions, where both the interviewers and interviewees shared experiences and even contrasted similar critical incidents we have had during our lives. This gave us a completely different perspective, and emotions, feelings, and experiences emerged from these talks. The study took place at the Language Department of the University of Guanajuato in Central Mexico. 9 students participated, and they were all studying in the BA in English language teaching. They all had been teaching for at least 1 year in different cities, in public and private sectors, from kindergarten to university levels. In order to explore reflection on critical incidents, we asked our students to write an incident they had had in the past weeks or months with their students. They were instructed to be descriptive, so we could see who was involved, what the situation was, and how they approached the situation. In class, we discussed the incidents trying to detect the what, who, when, how, and why of the different incidents. We engaged in long and interesting conversations because students were participative, and they discovered that they all had faced critical incidents in their teaching lives, although they had not perceived them in such a way. we realized that the reported critical incidents seem to focus on negative rather than positive issues regarding their teaching practices. In the study, 4 categories emerged. The first one dealing with external classroom issues. The second one learning to choose the right content for activities. The third one learning how to deal with problems between students. And finally, how to stop a fight and not to lose face in front of students. For the purposes of this presentation, we will focus only in 2 categories, dealing with external classroom issues and learning to choose the right content for activities. The first category, dealing with external classroom issues. The first critical incident comes from a student teacher who taught in kindergarten. She works in a public school and has large classes of 40 to 45 students. Her concerns come from a child who was always erupting the class and misbehaving. After perceiving this, the student teacher decided that she needed to do something about it, but due to her few years of teaching experience, she decided to consult a more expert teacher. He suggested that she could use the boy as a helper instead of trying to make him work. This is what she did, but then, for the purposes of what she wanted to address, she had accomplished keeping the child busy and willing to help her during class. However, something changed in the middle of the process. One day, she realized that the kid didn't want to do anything in class. What had happened was that the main teacher asked the child's mother to take him to the doctor, and they decided to give him medication in order to make him less hyperactive. This brought about consequences in his performance, and the child was no longer helping the teacher during the class. For this student teacher, it was hard for her to understand how things developed for the child and how powerless she felt being only the English teacher, as she could do nothing about it. As part of the evaluation and results, in this case, the student teacher realized that there are external factors which can be in conflict with her teaching practice. As she mentioned, most of the time, children like these are bringing problems from his home to school. One thing that I am sure is that to sedate a student and turning him into a zombie is not the solution. Parents' decisions cannot be contested by teachers, and she learned that what she does in her classroom can or cannot be seen by others, in this case, the main teacher or the child mother. She also learned valuable lessons of understanding the complexities of her student lives and how to use different techniques to solve problems in the classroom. The second critical incident, learning to choose the right content of the activities. The following critical incident narrates the importance of being careful when selecting activities for students, especially teenagers who are discovering who they are at this period of their lives and who they would like to become. This student teacher here describes the moment when he chose a song to practice a certain grammatical structure. He didn't realize that the problem was that the song contained some expressions related to Catholicism that could be meant to a misunderstanding. One of the students was Christian and she was strong religious values, and I think that she didn't understand the content of the song. At first, the student teacher made a decision to use a song in class and learned that he had to be more careful with the selection of songs in the future. He was puzzled as he didn't think the song could be offensive for the class, but he didn't think that students could be sensitive to the topic. The girl came after, and around 20 minutes later, she apologized because she overreacted to the lyrics. When the student teacher reflected on the critical incident, he explained that from now on, he is more careful with the content of the activities. The student teacher now realizes his mistakes and knows he has to be more careful in the future. While this incident may seem simple, he has learned an important lesson which is memorable and will have an impact in the future. In essence, He has gone beyond skills and techniques and has realized the intricacies of who his students are and what they bring to the learning environment. Being sensitive to these complexities is pertinent for him as a teacher and when choosing material. For conclusions, in this study, the main objective was to explore how the analysis of critical incidents can help student teachers to reflect on their teaching practice, as well as on their professional and personal development. Each individual constructed different descriptions based on experiences and critical incidents. They had an impact and helped them shape their perceptions and attitudes in a given time and their lives. They can analyze and examine their values, beliefs, and perceptions that underpin their actions in language teaching. Each individual in this study constructed different descriptions based on experiences and critical incidents that had an impact, and these critical incidents helped them shape their perceptions and attitudes at a given time in their lives. Giving these teachers the opportunity to reflect on and consolidate their philosophical and theoretical understanding of their practices allowed us to be able to approach the participants, including ourselves, in a more biographical stance and make connections between their present selves and how they portray themselves in a future as potential language teacher educators. And here are a reference.
Okay, we hope you have enjoyed our presentation about critical incidences, and we hope to see you in the future, the next year of FEL.